seeking a number of reliefs, including the last point, Dennis, which is really of emphasis for, if you listen to Nick Samado, that's one area that they are hitting so hard, that they want the courts to either set aside the polling station results of those 3 polling stations,
yes,
or order a rerun, because
so.
it would have a material impact on the outcome of the results. See that Charles Forson was declared winner with 18,870 of the votes, as against Ebi Bright, 18,815. That's 55 votes difference.
Yes, so when you put the 3 constituencies in the context, 3 polling stations in the context, you realize why they are making the point that let's rerun these 3 polling stations and let's see what the outcome of the election will be. But Alfred, it is not only Tema Central that is in this. There are other pending election petitions in some of the constituencies that we're monitoring closely.
Talk to us.
We know at least 3 of them in the Ashanti region are in court already, but same matters. They are contesting that the people who are representing these constituencies in parliament are not the validly elected persons, and they are in court with election petitions properly instituted, and they are at it. So we are looking at Obuasi East constituency, we are looking at Afuano North constituency, and Afuano Southwest constituency in the Ashanti region. All these are election petitions pending before the law court in the Ashanti region. We also have Thier. We know, in respect of Thier, that the NDC had secured an injunction against the MP for that area, NS Kumi.
Yeah.
In fact, that was brought to the attention of Parliament even on the day the MPs were being sworn in.
Yeah.
But they left it for the MP himself to decide and to bear the consequences of whatever that will be.
That's right.
So that matter is still in court. There's also Fantiakwa North, also in the eastern region. There's Pandai constituency, which is also an election petition ongoing. And there's also Trubok constituency in the Greater Accra region. So we know for a fact that all these constituencies have election petitions pending before the law courts. It's also important to mention, Alfred, that Ablekuma North is still not represented in Parliament for obvious reasons. We do not know when the EC will be able to do the collation again to declare a winner for Ablekuma North constituency. As it stands now, they have no representation in Parliament.
Well, and that was a matter that the NPP MP sought to put across on Friday, last Friday in Parliament, that they wanted the Electoral Commission to declare that Ablekuma North constituency results. And that was a matter that the NPP MP sought to put across on Friday, last Friday in Parliament, that they wanted the Electoral Commission to declare that Ablekuma North constituency results and who is the winner. But guess what? There are about 3 polling stations that the presiding officers there say they will not come. One says, look, I have done my job, I'm done. And the other also said the original pink sheets that he had did not have rejected ballots on it. But what was presented to him at the Recollection Center had rejected ballots. So there are outstanding issues in Ablekuma North that the Electoral Commission cannot go ahead to declare the results until those issues are addressed.
But they made an attempt to do. They made an attempt to collate for the very final time. But unfortunately, that did not happen because of security reasons. They are making the case that if enough security is provided for them, they'll be able to do the exercise. Because the last statement the Electoral Commission issued was to the effect that, yes, they had sent notices to the parties to come to the headquarters, that's the old headquarters of the EC, for that exercise to be done. Only for the police to inform them that from intelligence that they had gathered, they cannot. It was not going to be possible. And that's how come we saw the clashes in there and all that. But of course, that has been put on hold. We're just hoping that in the coming days, the EC will be able to declare, a winner for Ablekuma North, or at least give an indication on how to proceed with that particular matter.
It's a very, very important development in there. But stay with me. NDC parliamentary candidate for the Tema Central constituency, that's in the 2024 elections, Ebi Bright, heads to court seeking to reverse the election of Charles Forson as Member of Parliament for the Tema Central constituency. We've got details for you because this is a matter that is taking twists and turns in court, and indeed after the declaration of Ebi Bright as parliamentary candidate, that's a Member of Parliament elect on December 9, 2024. Eventually, the Electoral Commission, if you recall, indicated that they do not recognize that particular declaration of Ebi Bright as MP elect because it did not follow due process. And so it was fraught with some illegalities that the Electoral Commission says invalidates that particular declaration of Ebi Bright as MP elect. Then this matter traveled, went to the courts, and in fact there was a redeclaration of Charles Forson as MP-elect even before it was challenged. In fact, if you recall, when that mandamus application was sent by the NPP, challenged at the Supreme Court that particular outcome, and then the Supreme Court's decision to have this NDC as well head in this mandamus application by the New Patriotic Party. Eventually, there was an order for a recollation that was done, and we have Charles Forson being declared as MP-elect. Well, guess what? This matter is not ended as yet, because we're learning right now that Ebby Bright, the NDC parliamentary candidate for the Tema Central Constituency in the 2024 elections, has just taken another legal action. And my colleague, Dennis Paberi Wadam Esquire, is joining me right now. Dennis, what do we know about this?
Well, it doesn't look like Ebby Bright is giving up on this seat anytime soon, because we are just learning of an election petition in respect of the Tema Central seat, and that is challenging the validity of the election that put Charles Forson in Parliament as the Tema Central MP. And in that respect, she's basically seeking the relief to the effect that she wants that the court declares that she, Ebby Bright, is the validly elected MP for the Tema Central constituency.
I see.
That for her is not in doubt, and that a declaration that the EC has no legal right to overturn the results of the Tema Central parliamentary elections. You recall that there was a declaration of some sort, but the EC's contention is that that declaration was done under duress and that it did not follow due process. The reason they had to do a collation or recollation, depending on where you stand and how you see it, and then they eventually declared Charles Forson, who is now the MP for Tema Central, as the validly elected member of parliament. That Ebby Bright says that no, the Electoral Commission has no legal right to do so in respect of our legal laws, our electoral laws. She also is seeking a relief to the effect that a declaration be made that the election of some 3 polling stations was not conducted in compliance with the electoral laws of Ghana. If you recall, in the midst of all the controversy, what stood out was the fact that 3 polling station results were in dispute as to whether they ought to have been added or not. Now, the contention here and the relief that Ebby Bright, the petitioner in this election petition, is saying that the court makes a declaration that the manner in which the results of these 3 polling stations were handled was not in compliance with the electoral laws of Ghana, for which reason she does not think that Charles Forson is a validly elected member of parliament for Tema Central. She also seeking a declaration that Charles Forson is not the MP declared for Tema Central. Yes, we've seen this. And that an order directed at Charles Forson and the EC to endorse the petitioner's name, the petitioner here refers to Ebby Bright, on the writ of elections. It is based on this writ of elections, which is sent to the Clerk of Parliament, that you get to be sworn in Parliament. So what was sent to Parliament had the name of Charles Forson, and that's the basis on which Charles Forson is now the Member of Parliament for Tema Central. But she is seeking an order that, an order directed at Charles Forson and the EC that her name should be entered into that writ of election instead of the name that was sent to Parliament. Also, she also wants an order directed at Charles Forson and the EC to gazette and inform the Clerk of Parliament that Ebby Bright is the validly elected MP for Tema Central. Mind you, after the election, the results have to be gazetted. So the results that we have now have Charles Forson's name there. Her relief she's seeking from the court is that, no, my name should be in that gazette. And that is what she's seeking. And it goes on. She also seeking an order to set aside the election results of the Tema Central, which declared Charles Forson MP for non-compliance. In this instance, she wants the entire results, which declared Charles Forson the MP, set aside, so that she will be declared the winner for that particular constituency. There's also a relief seeking an order to set aside the results of the 3 polling stations. And now, pay attention to this. This is in the alternative. Give me this or that.
Right.
That the results of the 3 polling stations in contention be set aside for non-compliance. Or in the alternative, an order directed at the EC and the Tema Metro EC officer to rerun the 3 polling station, the election in the 3 polling stations.
It should rerun the elections.
That's okay, take out the results of the 3 polling stations, let's rerun the elections in these 3 polling stations, and then we do the collation, and I'll be satisfied. So it is the petitioner in this case is asking for one of 2 things. Give me this or give me that. So Alfred, basically, these are some of the reliefs, the key ones that Ebi Bright is seeking from the High Court in respect of this election petition. Now, mind you, this is a full-blown election petition, unlike the other matters that had to do with the question of whether the matters were ripe to be presented to the court as in the form of election petition or not, as we saw in the issues of the mandamus application and the attempts to injunct the whole process. This is a full-blown election petition, a parliamentary one at that, and it will be conducted in the High Court, Alfred.
And so, and let's put emphasis on this last point, the last relief that Ebi Bright is seeking, an order to set aside the results of the 3 polling stations. And these 3 polling stations is instructive because that's what makes all the difference, is it not?
Yes.
So she wants that set aside for non-compliance.
Yes.
Or these 3 polling stations elections should be rerun for fresh outcome.
Exactly.
But then again, it begs the question.
I mean, you recall that when the Don Kobinya issue came up, after all attempts to reconcile the numbers, the EC came to a point that they were willing to rerun the election in some polling stations.
True.
So it's something that is doable. So she is saying that if you are unable to set aside the results in these 3 polling stations, let us have a rerun in these 3 polling stations. And she is convinced that when that is done, it will give a true picture of the outcome of the election. But as it stands now, she does not think that Charles Forson is the person who has been validly elected by the people of Tema Central to represent them in Parliament.
And then stay with me, because this particular constituency's results, amongst others, has traveled a very interesting path. If you recall, the Accra High Court declared, in fact, it directed the Electoral Commission to collate the Tema Central results again, and this was just some 3 days before the swearing in of this 9th Parliament. The Electoral Commission had indicated that they were going to do that, or they will be able to, which they did. We were here on the Saturday, the January 5th, if you recall, when this redeclaration, so-called, was done, with Charles Forson now being declared as winner with some 18,870 of the valid vote cast, as against Ebi Bright, who polled 18,815, a difference of 55 votes. And this is where we look at how the three polling stations that Ebi Bright is pointing at, that look, those should be a place to watch. It's one that you can understand why, because of the vote difference, 55 between them. Now, Nick Papo Samoa Ado is a private legal practitioner. He is counsel to Ebi Bright in this case. He's joining us on the telephone right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Hello? Nick Papo Samoa Ado, good evening. Hello, Ni Papo Samoa.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Great.
I can hear you.
Perfect. Now, it appears that even after this court order and the collation and declaration of Charles Forson, who is now in this 9th Parliament, this is not the end of the fight for you. You're taking it up again, Ni Papo.
So, it is a very straightforward issue. You will recall that, and I think this probably would be a very straightforward issue with respect to the matters that we put before the court. There were 4 police stations that had issues, generally. 4. And if you recall, all the debates had to do with the collation of those 4 police stations. In fact, if you narrow it down, it's actually 3 police stations that were at stake. Now, the NDC's polling agents raised a fundamental issue with respect to the issues arising out of the 3 polling stations. Namely that with 3 of them, the names and signatures of the presiding officers were on the original pin sheet. But then the duplicates that were given to the NDC agents did not have the names and signatures of the presiding officers. And then also there were issues of the tallying of the total valid votes as against the total votes in the ballot box. So when it comes to those 3 polling stations, the issues that were raised by the NDC polling agents should have been addressed. Because you see, if you have an election that was decided by 55 votes, and there was issues to do with 3 of the polling stations, and you don't allow the agents of the party that is agreed to have their issues resolved so that there is no controversy about the election, this is what happens. And when there was even an order for a recount or recollation for that matter, the manner in which the recollation should have happened did not happen. And so, at the end of the day, once the issues, and remember, one of the cardinal principles of dealing with election petition is whether the allegation you make materially can change the outcome of the election. And when you have a situation where the race was not won by 5,000 or 10,000 or 15,000 votes, so that you say that, well, the person who is the petitioner is simply making a lot of noise. But you are talking about 55 votes. Then clearly, the person cannot sit down or the contestant cannot sit down when the issue boils down to 3 polling stations whose results can easily overturn the outcome of the election.
I see, but
so either you exclude those polling stations or you run those polling stations again, or you investigate the allegations and find out whether the allegations as they are capable of overturning the results as declared. And I have no doubt that if the grievances of Madam Bright, Honorable Eddie Bright, are looked at, we should be able to resolve this matter in a very, quick, because there's only 3 police stations. And I'm praying that the court will look at it and help us resolve this matter. Because obviously, the people of Tema North have the right
Central.
To,
yes, but
Tema Central have a right to have their elections, determined appropriately, so that all this noise and indecision will come to an end.
Well, but there are a number of things that you put out, which I want to interrogate. You say that the manner in which the recollation, so-called, should have happened did not happen. Exactly what do you mean by that?
You remember on live TV, the representative of Madame Bright went to the collation center, that is Honorable Roxy Dafema, went to the police station, and he was challenging the returning officer as to the manner in which he sought to do the recollation. Was there to start from the beginning and recollect the entire results, or they were supposed to start from the particular place? So even the order that was given by the court and how it was implemented was a problem. Because at the
Hello? Unfortunately, I lost Nipa Posamado. But he makes reference to a particular incident involving Nelson Roxon Dapiameko, who is the representative, or who was the representative of Eddie Bright, and that Electoral Commission Coalition Center, that was the Greater Accra office of the Electoral Commission, and when Nelson Roxon Dapiameko challenged the process. Now, we have that video. Take a look at this. We're going to put that video on the screen right now. What we put there a few minutes ago, this is what happened earlier. That was just about a little over 3 weeks ago, about almost a month ago. This is what happened at the Coalition Center.
The returning officer for the returning officer do his job. Yes, but the returning officer reports to somebody. So is the person handling the process or the returning officer? I am the officer for Tema Central. You may be the officer. We may be the officer, but you are not the returning officer. I am not. If you want us to do this, if you want us to do this, I am not the returning. I'm not saying I'm the returning. Comport yourself. And then also let the law officer take charge. You also have to comport yourself. You are bringing the same attitude. What attitude? The same attitude. The same thing you are also understand. This is the returning officer. Your complaint is that he didn't handle the process. Today is not he did not declare. Handle the process. So if we handle the process, today is about declaration. Yes. Correction and declaration. So you do the correction. Yes.
Well, so that's the video. Nick Paposa Amado is back on the telephone. What you reference is just we just put on the screen right now. So that the challenge of the process of the recollation is a point of reference for you.
Exactly. And you see that our challenge is based on 2 regulations.
Okay.
You understand? The manner in which the result, that's the pay sheet, is recorded. There's a specific requirement as to the returning officer, the specific returning officer, and the issue of he recording it and he signing it. And so you cannot have a situation where the person who the one party has signed results as against the other party that doesn't have signed results. And when they complain, you don't investigate in a close election for that matter. And then where there are differences between the recorded votes cast and the recorded votes that are in the ballot box. It's 3 polling stations and those politics. Remember, the principle again I repeat is that where the irregularity has the ability to change or affect the results declared, there must be an investigation. And so it is for me a very straightforward matter.
Well,
the allegations that were made by the Honorable Kesi, are they allegations that one actually happened? 2, are they capable of being investigated? 3, are they capable of overturning the results? So if even one of those police stations, you admit, only even one of those police stations has the capacity to overturn the election.
Well, so
she cannot sit down. She cannot sit down without ensuring that the integrity of the elections are held. If at the end of the day, the court investigates the allegation and comes to the conclusion that look, let's have a rerun of those of those
3 polling stations. Yes.
Or let's go back and look at the allegations as against the ballot accounting that was done. And there are irregularities that materially affect the outcome of the election. I think the democratic thing to do is to rerun those 3 polling stations, and then everybody knows, as they say, your smokeless level. They remember, at the essence of this is the fact that it is what the voter has voted for that must be upheld in the democracy.
Okay.
Not a manipulation of the electoral results. That cannot be accepted.
But the allegations are bothering on these 3 polling stations results and how all of that was handled. Did the Counsel for Be Bright raise it during that court hearing at the Accra High Court, which eventually ordered?
Remember that all along the issues have been about procedure.
So it didn't go into it never went into the merits of the case?
No. We never went to the merits of the. So you see that post the fact that somebody has now been sworn in because of an alleged declaration, then the issues change. Because before then, the issues were about whether the procedures leading up to the
the declaration of
the results, the declaration of the results has been respected.
Right.
And also whether the first declaration that was made, which had declared the Honorable Kesi Be as the winner, was going to be upheld.
True.
To whatever machination by the EC, somebody else was declared as what? As the winner of the election. So then the only procedure available to the Honorable Kesi Be to challenge the result is to come by a petition, so that we can now put everything in one basket and deal with this once and for all.
Right. We'll see how this case will travel, the path of which we'll certainly will be updating our viewers on it. But thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate you. Nick Papo Samuado is a lawyer for Kesi Be, the Tema Central NDC parliamentary candidate in the just ended 2024 parliamentary elections in that constituency.